Billboard Rewind. Billboard Rewind. Billboard Rewind. Welcome back, everybody, to Billboard Rewind, where we drop the needle on the biggest hits of yesterday. This week, randomly, we were selected to set the time machine back to June 27th, 1987. And we're going to count down the top 5 songs that ruled the Billboard Hot 100 charts. From power ballads to pop anthems, these tracks didn't just top the charts, they helped define the sound of a summer. So grab your Walkman, crank up the cassette deck, and let's rewind to the hits that had everyone singing along the week ending June 27th, 1987. Welcome, Billboard Chart Guy. How are you?
Well, that was an impressive opening and very professional. I'm not surprised.
Thank you. I figured, we could just get a little slick opening statement so we're not just winging it the whole time.
Okay. And let's just right off the top just say that I've dotted my I's and crossed my T's this week.
Why is that?
So the ombudsman of Billboard Rewind will be pleased with our efforts of this week. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, I think we will be kept on our toes, making sure we have double-checked all our information and charting information, and we will hopefully not find ourselves getting a special message afterwards that we have somehow screwed something up. So That's great.
All right. Perfect.
All right. So we're going to start right away with, I'll start off by saying this. I was a little disappointed at the top 5. Not going to lie. When we got the week picked for us randomly at the end of the last episode, I was hoping for maybe a little more, stuff that I enjoy, but such is the randomness of the ChatGPT AI function. We get what we get, and we don't get upset. We just talk about it, and certainly there's plenty to talk about. And,
this was a challenging week for sure for myself as well, but like you said, we'll persevere and get right on it.
It's just testing us out for when we get into some decades that are a little less our jam, so to speak. So,
right, exactly.
So we'll start with the number 5 song from that week, and it was "Always" by the band Atlantic Starr. And what I think about originally, right off the top of the bat, when I hear this song or think about this song, now in my mind, it's like a wedding song. It was a huge wedding song for years and years. It was Atlantic Starr's biggest hit. It was released in that year, obviously, and hit number 1. And I'll let you go into that chart stuff more a little before this. But, it was also topped the R&B and the contemporary charts. It was on their album, All in the Name of Love, which basically was their peak. They had moderate success before that. I think what was their first song that was the
Secret Lovers.
Secret Lover, yeah, Secret Lovers. That song, sorry, I just I just demolished that, but that was their previous hit. And this one, another pop kind of R&B ballad. First, big wedding, first dance song. After that, like I said, that's what I think of. And it definitely screams 80s to me. And this was kind of a theme a little bit with the chart this week. There was a lot of these types of R&B crossover ballad songs. The band itself is actually kind of interesting, I didn't think much of them even when I was back in the 80s. It wasn't my jam, so to speak. And it wasn't an album I owned. I had friends who loved them, but it wasn't anything that I would have really been into. But they had a kind of an interesting, they formed in the 70s, and there was a huge lineup of musicians. They rose, through the late 70s and the early 80s. They had that Secret Lover song. I think that was 1985. And then this was their big hit that kind of set them a little bit higher off into the charts and into the 80s atmosphere, so to speak. But they persisted for decades. Actually, I was shocked to find out that they were making music into the 90s and 2000s. They released their 13th album called Metamorphosis in 2017, and their founding member Wayne Lewis just passed away this past summer at the age of 68, and they're still performing now without him, but with some of the original members. So that was kind of shocking to me. So what do you think about this song?
So you're right, a wedding song. I also thought of a formal song for college, or a prom. It's I would call it the epitome of a slow jam, right? A slow romantic jam. They were from White Plains, New York, right north of New York City. And as you mentioned, they had a few top 10 hits. They actually had 3. They had Secret Lovers, went to number 3 in 85. This song did get to number 1 in 87. And then in 1992, Masterpiece got to number 3. I remember the song. I remember it being kind of all over the radio in 1987.
I think I remember it on my soap operas.
Oh, okay.
I'm dating myself, but I think they played the heck out of it in like the romance love scenes of soap operas in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, but don't have a lot more to say about it. Obviously they had success over the years, but it's not a song that kind of stayed on my radar much beyond 4th of July of 1987.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't go back and listen to some of their earlier stuff, but from what I understand, when they were first starting out, they had a different name. I think they were called New Band or New Bon. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But they were more funk and disco, which sounds like I probably enjoyed a little bit more. But being that mid 80s turning towards Whitney Houston, Lionel Richie, R&B, soul, pop, kind of pop ballad stuff, they turned that way. And you know what? It worked for them. They finally got their big hits. So
yeah. Absolutely.
Good on them. Wasn't anything that I would be putting on my 80s playlist, but it was a big hit for sure.
Yeah. Can we move on, please?
We can. Yes. That's as much as we need to talk about Atlantic Star. Go
ahead. Well, number 4 that week was Alone by Heart. Big fat 80s power ballad from the album Bad Animals in 1987. This song spent 21 weeks on the chart, including 3 weeks at number 1. So Heart has always been a band for me that I bet I'm in the minority, because the earlier stuff like Barracuda and what are some of those other songs? Early, mid 70s to late 70s.
Like Crazy on You, Magic Man.
On You, yes, that was the other one. Crazy on You and Barracuda. They were like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Oh, you didn't like that?
Never liked it.
Oh,
this era of Heart, which is probably a surprise to you, I found much more enjoyable.
I am surprised. I'm with you in this, but I am surprised you are with me on this.
Yeah. I mean, in this comeback era, which kind of was 1985 to 1990, What About Love got to number 10. Never got to number 4. Both of those were in 85. These Dreams and Nothing at All got to hit the charts in 1986. So much more palatable for me as compared to the earlier Heart records. In all, throughout their career, they had 9 top 10 hits. So, Hall of Fame band, absolutely great career. Generally speaking, not for me, except for this little period in time. Yeah. Well, how about you? What did you think of?
Yeah, I liked Hart, Ann Wilson. Her vocal range in general has always been touted as one of the best female rock singers ever. And I think you hear it in this song. It's huge, and all you had to do is watch some American Idols and voice competitions where the girls would try to tackle this song because they're trying to show off their chops and fail spectacularly because this is not an easy song to sing, I would imagine, because it is kind of soaring by the end of it. What I didn't know about it was that it was not written by them. They didn't write it. Duo Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly, they're a hit-making duo that wrote some, little hits like a Virgin, True Colors by Cyndi Lauper, Eternal Flame by the Bangles. So it was written by that group. So it had some pop, masters behind the writing of it. And then you add in the singing talent of the Wilson sisters, it was bound to be a hit. What I really didn't know is that it first appeared, John Stamos had a fictional band on a little TV show called Dreams. I don't know if you recall that.
I don't.
But it was like 1983. He sang it on that show before this was recorded by Hart. So
oh, wow.
Yeah. So a little factoid about that, which I thought was great. Yeah, no, I agree with you about Hart's little mid-80 run. I liked the song "All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You." What it was actually called. I don't think that was the actual name of it.
I think it was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. If you listen to the lyrics, if it's a little reverse, I don't know, kind of creepy about this one night stand, but the guy's much younger, and it might not make it in today's culture. Let's just say that, but I enjoy the song still to this day. And this song, I wouldn't say is my favorite of that period by Hart, but I definitely do like this. I do like Barracuda though. That's just kind of a fun. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the Wayne's World in me, but I like that song.
Got a problem with it. The other thing about Hart, and I'm sure you've come across it in your Twitter feed, they did at the Kennedy Center's honors for Led Zeppelin, they did an unbelievable cover of Stairway to Heaven, where they had John Bonham's son playing on the drums, and at the end of the song they had a choir come out. And if you haven't seen this, go to YouTube and just Google Hart Stairway to Heaven Kennedy Center honors.
I will. I haven't heard
it's my favorite version of Stairway to Heaven.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, really good.
That's interesting. Well, I'll definitely check that out for sure. But yeah, this was a big hit, a big Hart hit in the heart of their success in their kind of comeback of the 80s. And I think we can move on though.
Let's not forget that Nancy Wilson was also in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, yes. Now you sound like it's like I hear that and then I just think of Wayne's World again.
That's right. Well, it all comes back.
I have Wayne's World on the mind today.
Right.
We're gonna go on to.
Let's go to number 3, right?
Yeah. Did you start? Yeah, you started that last one, right? So it's me. Okay, number 3 song. All right. So this is not to give anything away, but this is my favorite of the top 5 we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So this is In Too Deep by Genesis. Not my favorite Genesis song by any stretch of imagination, but definitely of the top 5 we are talking about today. This is my favorite. I'll let you talk about the chart stuff, but it was a, big hit off their Invisible Touch album, which was the album that came out after Phil Collins had his solo smash album. And, you know, he was trying to show that he was going to keep doing his band stuff. And after No Jacket Required was released with 1 million hits and sold 12 million copies in the United States, he came back with Genesis and released The Invisible Touch. It had a bunch of hits on it. This was, I think, what it reminds me of the Collins solo ballad, One More Night, and it's kind of similar in the DNA of that. So you really start to see his solo style ballad influence coming into Genesis here and getting away from more of their progressive rock stuff that they had done originally. I enjoyed Throwing It All Away from this album, Invisible Touch, much more. But in this song, In Too Deep, you know, it's a sappy, well-made, well-sung, well-produced ballad from Genesis. And I enjoy it. I had this album. It's probably the only album of the top 5 albums that I had a lot of hits on it. Tonight was another great song off that album, which was also in a Michelob commercial, if you remember.
That's right, I do.
But you know, this was his commitment, his continued commitment to Genesis. So I appreciated that they came back. They had this big hit. I love Mike Rutherford as well. I actually have seen him in concert with his band, Mike and the Mechanics, which had several hits.
Yep.
Which All I Needed Is a Miracle was probably their biggest one, but you know, we know what was the first one? I love the years, something. The Living Years is my favorite. That was about the dad, but give me a second. It'll come to me. But why don't you tell me what, you know, your thoughts on In Too Deep by Genesis?
Well, let's clear the numbers out. It was 17 weeks on the chart. It peaked at number 3. Genesis overall had 7 top 10 hits. So I'm gonna kind of push back against you a little bit here.
Okay, go ahead.
This song, you know, kind of continued a series of mid-tempo songs that kind of all were in the same park. You know, thinking about Against All Odds, One More Night, Separate Lives, Throwing It All Away.
I know, and I like all of those songs.
groovy kind of love. Phil Collins, as we've talked about on this show and on the other show, was everywhere in the 80s. And I dug in a little bit on some timelines here. And just to kind of show you that in the 1980s, Phil Collins / Genesis released 9 albums from March of 1980 to November of 1989. Duke, Face Value was the first solo album by Phil Collins. Abacab, 3 Sides Live in June of 82 was a Genesis album. Then Phil Collins' second solo album, Hello, I Must Be Going, was November of 82. In October of 83 was the self-titled Genesis album. In February of 85, No Jacket Required, you mentioned them. Invisible Touch, June of 86, and But Seriously was a Collins solo album, November of 89. Let's not forget his work with Philip Bailey on Easy Lover. He produced the Frida's solo album, Frida from ABBA. There's Something Going On was a big hit. He produced Eric Clapton solo album. So he was everywhere. And I think and you stated this correctly, the merging of the Phil Collins solo stuff kind of merged into Genesis. Right. And they became a completely different band. If you listen to Abacab from 81 or Duke from 1980, there might be one song on each of those albums that you could say, oh, that could have been a Phil Collins solo song. By Invisible Touch,
it's all of them.
It's all of them. And the other guys definitely took a step back. And to be fair, because I was 21, 22 at this time. There's an argument to be made that from 86 till probably when the Joshua Tree tour started in the spring of 1987, Genesis might have been the biggest band in the world.
I am of the thinking that Phil Collins himself as a icon of the 80s is up there with the biggest icons of the 80s musically. Michael Jackson, Madonna, Whitney Houston. If you look at his, as you have just perfectly outlaid, the amount of music he made, his all being everywhere between Genesis and his solo career, his being part of Live Aid. I mean, he was making movies.
Right.
And to be, I'm not ashamed to say he wasn't my favorite artist of the 80s, but if you were to take the icons, maybe the top 5 of the 80s, he would probably be my first choice to listen to today.
Okay.
I'm not talking about U2, like the band. I'm talking about if you were to think of the biggies, like the Madonnas, the Whitneys, the Michael Jackson, Prince, I might take his too. But yeah, I put him right up there. Put it this way. I put him right up there with all of them. And as a personal preference, I like him more than most of them. So, okay. But I will agree with you that going back just in my memory of thinking of the music of the 80s, there are times I'm not sure if it's a Phil Collins solo song when I hear it on the radio or if it's a Genesis song without looking, because that period of time for sure it was the same stuff. And I remembered the Mike Rutherford, Mike and the Mechanics song. It was Silent Running was their first one, and their first hit, which was a mild hit, but Silent Run. I'm not going to sing it. Forget it. I say that to sing it, but it's not going to come out so you would understand what the song was. So
right.
Just embarrass myself. But yes, I like them as well. And I've seen both Phil Collins in concert years later, but I saw him solo and I saw Mike and the Mechanics at the Wilbur, I believe.
Okay. Wow.
So,
all right. We've been there. Yeah.
Back there in the, I think, early 90s. So, yeah, no, I enjoy it. This is not my favorite Genesis song or Phil Collins song, but it is my favorite song of the top 5 we're going to talk about. So,
okay, good. There's a lot there, but let's move on. My turn, right?
We could talk about Phil Collins a long time for sure.
Yeah. And he'll probably come up in other episodes as well.
Absolutely.
So number 2 this week was Head to Toe by Lisa and Cult Jam. This song was heading downward this week. It was number 1 the week before. I was surprised to see that Lisa and Cult Jam had 3 top 10 hits over the years. They had a song called All Cried Out in 86 that got to number 8. Head to Toe obviously went to number 1, and the follow-up was Lost in Emotion that got to number 1. Interesting. I would classify and I liked this song. I liked this group. I would classify them as a cooler Gloria Estefan.
Well, she was kind of the leader of that Latin freestyle sound that led into the Gloria Estefan and the Jennifer Lopez's eventually. During New York in the mid 80s, this freestyle R&B blend for the Latina dance world was huge.
And I would also say that Lisa and Cult Jam kind of set the table for someone like Paula Abdul as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And she co-opted the look. I think the videos had a similar look. But yeah, this is a fun pop song. Always enjoy hearing this, and also Lost in Emotion. And this is my favorite song we're going to be talking about this week.
Oh, interesting. That's actually kind of shocking to me. That's why we do this and we find out. was not a huge Lisa fan. I spent some time working at Kiss 108 in the late 80s, early 90s. So we played a lot of this type of, R&B music a lot. And she was probably one of their power rotation artists for sure, especially during this time. I like Lost in Emotion better than this song, but this is a quintessential 80s song. The video, her look, everything is if you were to, make a movie about the 80s and do a knockoff kind of dance artist character, it would look like her and would probably have the similar style and whatnot. Her big backing team was Full Force, which was they basically wrote and produced. They're the huge production team. I know they worked with a lot of the big artists, Janet Jackson. I mean, they were kind of all over that scene, and they took to Lisa when they discovered her. She was like a teenager, and she joined this Cult Jam band, and they really helped with her polishing her music, her style, her dancing, like really kind of they were a huge part of it, and they were big on the MTV videos. I think they were in the video of one of their songs in the background as well. It's as I mentioned, the Latin freestyle urban contemporary sound was pretty huge in the late 80s, especially in New York City, where they came out of. She was born Lisa Velez. I don't know if you knew that. She was Puerto Rican, New York City, hitting the clubs. And like I said, she joined the Cult Jam when she was a teenager. She got recognized by Full Force in the clubs. They wrote and they produced her, and she became one of the very first Latin women to like break it on the charts big. Like as we mentioned, kind of paving the way for several of them coming after that. I didn't like the what was the other song that you had? The first one that was
All Cried Out.
Yeah, I hated that song. Oh God, do I hate that song. So I had a girlfriend who had this album, and she might have played between this and the Cover Girls, as you could tell, she had a style. Played these both albums on our spring break of my senior year in high school to death. And that was especially in heavy rotation because she had broken up with her boyfriend. And if I hear that song, I want to like slip my wrists. So I was glad that this wasn't the song, because I really like Head to Toe a lot much more, and Lost in Emotion as well. So so I know it was she went platinum. She had those big back-to-backs #1 singles, and she kind of paved the way. First lady of freestyle. So she has a pretty long list of accomplishments, and she's not really someone you hear about anymore. She didn't last into the 90s much, but she definitely had a huge presence.
Yeah, she had a moment for sure.
She did
in that time frame. Yep.
Okay,
Great.
You ready to move on to #1?
Drum roll, #1. Go ahead. Do it.
All right. Well, no surprise that this was going to be a top artist and a top song in one of these weeks. Happened right out of the gates with Whitney Houston. I Want to Dance with Somebody. Who Loves Me? Huge. I mean, just immense hit. And I'll let you get into all the specifics of that. But I know, it came out. It helped. Her album went straight up to #1. This actual performance won a Grammy for Best Female Pop Performance. The music video, which I'll mention in a minute, totally MTV 80s, big hair, neon clothes, the radiating Whitney smile, singing. This was the first of 4 huge #1 singles off the album. Again, I'll let you kind of cover that stuff. But the little behind the scenes with this song, this was a huge kind of anthem dancing, club song, but it was very bubblegum pop at the same time. And she actually wasn't sold on the song originally. because she wanted to be seen as a little bit less of that moving forward. And right. Clive Davis, as we know, is Whitney's mentor and producer for years. He pushed her down this road. He wanted this to be his part 2 of the How Will I Know song, the How Will I Know? Mm-hmm. So this was like his follow-up in his mind to that, to really take her to the stratosphere, which he was completely correct, because it went to the stratosphere. So, it was an enormous hit, and one of those that is probably on most people's, like if you were to do quintessential 80s soundtracks at this point, this would be one of the big ones that was on it. So
yeah, she was so huge at this point. To give you some stats, this song was on the charts 20 weeks. It spent 2 weeks at number 1. Overall, she had 11 number 1 hits. She had, across her career, 23 top 10 hits. And the stat that blows my mind, and I don't think it had happened, and this, I'm just going off the top of my head here, I don't think this happened since the Beatles. She had 8 singles in a row that went to the top 10. Yeah, starting in 85 and all the way up to 1988, the song One Moment in Time, which was for the 88 Summer Olympics. 8 singles in a row that cracked the top 10. Amazing. She's a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, well-deserved. Specifically about this song, I remember back in the day of the mid-'80s, we spent a lot of time out in the Hamptons, out on the east end of Long Island. We had a summer house, and this song was just at every club. You couldn't avoid it. It's
definitely catchy. It's a feel-good song. You can't not. I mean, I couldn't hate this song if I tried. I enjoy it. It's not my favorite Whitney song, but it makes it clicks that nostalgia button when I hear it. Because this is 1987, I was in high school. I was a sophomore, and I was just coming out of my sophomore year. So it was, right in the heart of everything top 40 and pop culture, and you couldn't get away from Whitney at that time. And as a teenage girl, you were listening to a lot of Whitney. I didn't actually own the Whitney album. My mom did, which is ironic. She had the vinyl. But, you're listening to top 40 radio. You couldn't go an hour without hearing at least 2 songs. It's not unlike Taylor Swift these days, same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good comparison.
A lot of comparisons to that at that time, for sure.
Yeah.
So
terrific. Well, I, again, like you said, it's a song that, was everywhere, and I didn't mind it. It's it's a pop song. It's a classic pop song.
And I'm sure we'll hit Whitney again in our travels, and we'll talk about some of our other stuff. I will say I am a unabashed fan of the movie The Bodyguard and that soundtrack, so I kind of hope that pops up at some point. That was my favorite Whitney. It was that album.
I mean, that album just hung around, and that I Will Always Love You. I don't know how long that lasted on the charts, but my God. And
you can't, like, when there's that beat where she goes to the, we all sing it. I don't care. Yeah. I do not care who you are. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves to a future show, but hopefully that comes up another time. But that's the top 5, guys. So we're going to go on to the bonus songs now. And we each get, just as a reminder, we each pick 2 off the top 40 chart of that week that, float our boat. Maybe, since we don't always get the top 5 we want to talk about, we have some others on there that may be more up our alley, or maybe we hate, or maybe we, has a good memory, or a linchpin moment in our life, whatever that may be. So you can go first with your first bonus song of the week.
So the first bonus song I picked was Something So Strong by Crowded House. Love the song.
I'm so glad you picked this because I wanted to pick it. I didn't, but
Okay.
this was one I'm glad you picked because I would want to talk about it. So go ahead.
Yeah. So peaked at number 7 in 1987. Their first big hit was "Don't Dream It's Over," which got up to number 2. Subsequently, they had several hits on the modern chart rocks. Chocolate Cake, which is a favorite of mine, got to number 2 in 1990. A song called Locked Out got to number 8 in 1994, both on the modern rock charts. Great band out of Australia. Menners and Jackson and I have talked about this band. They came out of the band Split Enz,
Yep.
and just a dependable, great middle level rock band. And if I had to choose a top 5 of my Australian artists, I think this band would safely make that list. So
Yes.
I'm glad you like this one as well.
Yes. No, I am a huge Crowded House fan. I had this album. I had many other albums. I had some Split Enz albums back in my more alternative days. I enjoy them immensely. I saw them perform at the Roseland Ballroom in New York City in, I think it was 93 or 94, somewhere in that time when I was living there. And actually Sheryl Crow opened up for them, which was a fantastic. It was her come out like tour from her album, the Tuesday Night Music Club, I think. But anyway, yes, Crowded House, phenomenal musicians, great writers. This song, Something So Strong, great song. I too like some of their non-hits because I had the album, played them often. But I wanted to pick this, but I had reasons why I took the other two that I chose. But I am very happy you picked this because this was one that I could definitely talk about. Yes.
Yeah, they have a bit of another one of my all-time favorite bands. You might be a little too young, but Squeeze. They have
Paul Carrick. Don't tell me I'm too young. I love Squeeze.
Yeah, Squeeze is great, and lyrically and musically very similar to Squeeze.
Yes, and that is right in my wheelhouse because I loved Paul Carrick, I loved Squeeze, and I love Crowded House, and these are the bands that I would collect as my albums during this time and listened the heck out of. So
all right, good.
Yeah, right. We're on the same page there for sure. All right, well, I'll go to my first bonus song. Landing at number 25 in this particular week, ended up moving up the charts, was I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For by my favorite band of the decade, U2. This was their second single from the Joshua Tree. Everybody knows the Joshua Tree, their monster album, even though I had other albums I liked even better. This was their big one that kind of catapulted them out of a little bit more obscurity of their early 80s and into, just superstardom. This followed their first hit, which was With or Without You, which was also a number 1 song, enormous song. This song, I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. I love. It's got that gospel roots to it. It's like a hymn, like a spiritual pounding hymn, but without being overtly religious, right? It's like kind of a like this searching yearning. It's all about the journey of searching, and it just builds, and it just has a great unique flavor for the time in the 80s. I mean, you weren't hearing. That's one reason I loved U2, is it was so very different than a lot of what was on the radio. Now you think about it, and just because we're so used to knowing U2 and hearing their music and being part of the 80s and these songs from Joshua Tree, if you actually think about them in the time where, if you look at these charts, there isn't a lot like this on the charts. And my other favorite off the album is Where the Streets Have No Name, which was another hit from that, the beginning of that is just, I get like tingles when I hear that. The stadium, the big stadium anthem type stuff with this band and with these songs. And my favorite of this, I still haven't found, is the one they did with the Harlem Gospel Choir as part of the movie Rattle and Hum, which I think I might have seen 15 times in the theater, had the album. And that performance was just, I know they consider it a career highlight, and it was definitely one of my highlights of being a fan of them. And I just loved it. Just loved it.
That was recorded at Madison Square Garden, I think, on the Joshua Tree tour. They were at the peak of their powers live as a live band on that tour. I think I saw that tour 4 or 5 times. I saw them in Hartford. I saw them at the Garden. I saw them at Giant Stadium. Just amazing. And again, that was a moment, right, in time where kind of, Bruce had stepped aside and, from the Born in the USA hype. And like I mentioned earlier, Genesis had a moment as kind of the biggest band in the world. Also, Dire Straits a little earlier had a moment in the 80s. But, when this album came out, the rest of the decade was U2's in terms of a band.
Yeah, and it really kind of kept that rock edge. I mean, I was a huge Duran Duran fan, as we discussed on your other show, but that was like a totally different type of style. It was a totally different movement of music in the earlier 80s. This kind of helped usher in that rock, that kept that rock alive, as you said, like the Bruce Springsteens, and Bono has said that he was a lot of inspiration from Bruce. And I think if you listen to a few of his songs, what's the song? I think it's on Rattle Hum, All I Want Is You. That song, if you listen to it, sounds like it could be a Bruce Springsteen song, I think. No, I mean, not all of their songs do. They don't fit that exact kind of feel, but it definitely kept that rock, that arena rock going. Their heavy metal was coming, out, obviously, which was a totally different type of metal rock. Was not the same. This was kind of your more standard.
Yeah, this was kind of before Guns N' Roses kind of took off. But you had the Motley Crues, and you had the Rats and all those things, and that was not my thing. But this kind of rock was. Yeah, this is a great album, and this song is a.
And there was a lot of I remember reading years ago, there was a lot of drama behind the scenes in the recording of this album with Enos, Brian Enos, who, did I say? Did I put an S? Yeah, I put an S on that by accident. It's because I know someone with the last name Enos. But yeah, him and Bono had some friction at times. I think they had different stylistic desires for this album. And Bono won. Even though Brian Eno, he stayed on, they didn't break apart during the recording of it. But I knew there was a lot of friction on this, and one of them was with this song and really kind of making sure it blended that gospel, Americana, blues, rock, all into one great song. So this is a great song. I love this song. So I had to pick it, and because U2 is one of my favorite all-time bands, and I had the opportunity to pick a great song of theirs on the chart, I had to. So that's my number one.
Okay, excellent.
All right. So bonus number 2, you go ahead. You can go.
Yeah. Lessons in Love by Level 42. This song peaked at number 12. Level 42, if you're not familiar, I would kind of put them in the same category as like a Tears for Fears or a Wang Chung.
Simple Minds, a little bit.
And they, Simple Minds. Their first hit and their biggest hit on the U.S. charts was Something About You. Got to number 7 in 1985, and then this was the next song 2 years later. British band. Um, just like a fun pop song. Really I enjoyed this band. I thought they would get bigger. They never did. But Lessons in Love peaked at number 12. Take a listen to it and let me know what you think. I really enjoy it. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm sure I do know this song. For some reason, it's not coming to me. If you would care to sing a bar of it, I would probably spark a memory.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Of the chorus. I'll have to listen to it. I'm certain I know it. I like Level 42. Something About You is a great song. I don't know if I was into buying their albums or anything, but I know put it this way, if I turn on the radio and I hear them, I'll listen to them. I like them quite a bit. And they didn't last long.
No.
In the, cultural zeitgeist much. They had their, I feel like a lot of those bands, and I don't necessarily think they were in one of the movies like the Breakfast Club, those types of movies that played a lot of this type of music. They might have had a song or Pretty in Pink or, John Hughes movies. That's
Yep.
But I feel like they're in that arena of those types of songs that John Hughes used to put in those movies. So there's some heavy nostalgia just in that it connects me to those movies of the 80s. So, and like I said, I don't have a clue if they're in those. I didn't do any research on this song, so I don't know.
No, it's okay. But they lasted longer in Europe. That
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, they got to this song got to number 12 in the States. Something About You got to number 7, but after that, 87, 88, 80, like through like 91, they had a bunch of top 20 songs on the UK charts. So, so they had a decent career for sure.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'll do my second one.
Okay.
Which is Endless Summer Nights by Edward Joseph Mahoney, a.k.a. Eddie Money, the man, the myth, the cop, the legend. He's I love Eddie Money. I had his albums. I had many of his albums, including the one that this song came off of, which was another resurgent album of his, Can't Hold Back. He kind of ebbed and flowed. He had some drug issues, so that didn't help his career, and especially
this was a comeback, right?
It was one of two comebacks because he had his debut album, Eddie Money, which I loved. That had Baby Hold On, Two Tickets to Paradise. Obviously, those were probably his signature anthem is Two Tickets to Paradise. And that he broke through huge. And then he kind of dipped with his next album. He had a smaller hit, Can't Keep a Good Man Down. I don't know if you know, they did well on rock radio. It wasn't a big pop hit. And then his next album, this is the heart of his drug stuff going on. So it was playing for keeps, didn't have any hits or anything. But then his first comeback album was in 82.
Right.
No Control. Great album. Had Shaken, Think I'm in Love. Great. That's kind of when I started following him. I obviously went back and got his debut album.
Yep.
And then he kind of had a dud of a follow-up again. He was dealing with some drug stuff. In the 83, his next one was Where's the Party? And then he came back with Can't Hold Back, which was his revival again. And his biggest hit off of this album was Take Me Home Tonight with duet with Ronnie Spector. Hit number 4, I believe, on the Billboard Hot 100. Someone might double check that on that. I think that's where it was.
I think I Take Me Home Tonight got to number 1.
Oh, it did. Okay, so that's So all right, maybe that's why I didn't say it completely like I knew it, because I fact checked by who, the ombudsman. But I Want to Go Back was another one on that album, nostalgic kind of ballad, and then Endless Nights didn't go any higher than what it landed on this week. It was 21, but I picked it because I love Eddie Money. This was one of those songs I hadn't thought about in 20 some years.
Right.
But I remembered as soon as I read it, I said, this was my favorite song on that album, and I loved it. and I was fortunate to meet Eddie Money during my Kiss 108 days. He played one of the Kiss concerts. Great guy, down to earth. I followed up with his next album too. I think Nothing to Lose was Walk on Water was another top 10 hit.
Got to number 2.
Yeah, kind of, started to fade after, the 90s, but he toured a lot until he got his throat cancer, unfortunately. And he ended up, dying of that, which I think was in 2019. Is that when he died? I'm trying to remember.
Let me just back up here. Let's correct some numbers here.
Thank you.
You were correct. Endless Night only got to 21. I was looking at the wrong chart. Take Me Home Tonight got to number 4.
Oh, so I was right. I said number 4. All right.
I'm on some streak, man. I got to get it
together. So, listen, you corrected it mid-show. That's all that matters. No one has to, send texts or anything.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, anyway, I love this song. It's kind of it's like a mid-tempo ballad, power ballad.
Yeah.
But he's funny because he was once saying that he had a lot of songs that had the talk about tonight or like the night, and this was another one of those that he had.
I loved Shaking. I Think I'm in Love.
You remember that video of him and he's like in the car and he's like shaking. He's got the hot girl next to him.
Yeah.
Good video.
Yeah, he had a decent career.
I think
a lot of ups and downs, but
he kind of I think he even had a reality show called Real Money late like near the end of his life. If I'm not mistaken. It didn't hit like popular, but I remember reading something about that. And then, he had the esophageal cancer, which he was a chain smoker. So even when I met him, he had a cigarette, I think, in his hand. So unfortunately, but that helped him have that nice rasp that I like. So
that's right. That is true. Yes.
I love his voice. I'm a big fan of that rasp. So yeah, and I'm a big Eddie Money fan. So I had to pick that. It wasn't one of his big hits. It peaked at 21. This was his peak week, but I had to pick it because once I read it, I said that was my favorite song on that album, and I immediately played it and had myself a nostalgia moment.
So it sounds like a lot of the bonus songs we like better than the top 5.
Yes, I would. If I were to rank them, not one of those top 5 would be above our 4 that we picked.
Yeah, good.
So, although I can't really say level 42, I have to listen to because I know it and I like them. So I'm going to just say I like it better than Atlantic Star's song. No offense, Atlantic Star, but I'm just going with that. So
good.
Awesome.
All right, well, should we roll the dice now?
Yeah, we're getting ready to roll the dice. I've loaded it in. I'm keeping the same chat because I realized that if you change a new one, like it may keep if with the prompt string, the prompt thread, if I change it every time, it's might pull the same week, which it would be shocking if it did. But this way, it also might give us more variety if it has last ones picked already. So it may say, okay, the last 2 have been 80s, we'll throw something else out there. I mean, this is all up to ChatGPT, not us. So people who think this is rigged, it is not rigged. So I'm hitting send on the prompt. Give me another random Saturday between those dates. And just to remind people what the dates are, it's January 1st, 1970 to December 31st, 2009. And we're taking a Saturday because that's the week ending where the charts are made. Okay. So here we go. It is thinking. Oh boy, we're going into your range. October 16th, 1976 will be our next.
Yes.
So I actually am okay with this. I know I was only 5, but I feel like I know a lot of late 70s, especially with my affinity for yacht rock radio, and disco. So we might be I might be okay here.
I'm so excited. That's
I bet
perfect.
you are. So
that's perfect.
Well, that's awesome. We'll definitely have some stuff to talk about next time, and when we get together, and people can be anticipating October. That's the year of the bicentennial, right? Yeah.
That's
5
right.
years.
Yes.
5 years old. How old were you?
11.
Okay. Interesting.
Right.
That should be fun. Awesome. Well, thank you guys, everybody, for another episode of Billboard Rewind. I'm Mama Kay, and he's Billboard chart guy, and we will see you next time.